imagine this whole premiere that we're standing in having to be rescheduled in the course of 2 days, you know? That's how complicated it was. But it allowed us to find a new stunt coordinator, and the person that came to us was, we looked at his IMDb after I had a conversation with him, and it turned out he was the stunt coordinator for Mission Impossible. And so he was somebody that loved Maximilian Kolbe and was wanted to bring his talents to us, even though we couldn't pay him, and he volunteered to help us. So that's just one of the thousands and thousands of stories like that, where we found people who could solve problems for us that we could never have, never have expected or been able to secure ourselves by our own power.
Hello and welcome to Shalom World's Beyond the Vision program, where we feature Catholic and Christian films, documentaries, and theatrical productions with compelling themes and messages and the inspiring people behind them. Our feature-length film is the true story. It's a stunning masterpiece, Triumph of the Heart, the Passion of Saint Maximilian Kolbe. So this is a story about a Catholic priest who joins 9 other inmates to be in the starvation bunker in Auschwitz and ultimately live the virtues of faith, hope, and love. And viewer discretion is actually encouraged for this film because it has mature subject matters.
The story itself is a love letter from God to us, to say that there's always hope, there's always love, there's always something to live for.
So St. Maximilian Kolbe gives us that example of what it looks like to live a virtuous life, to follow in Jesus' footsteps, which is, it looks like it's a death, but at the end of the day, he helped bring other people to heaven with him. So it's a beautiful thing.
I have the writer and director of this stunning film, Anthony D'Ambrosio. Anthony, what was the inspiration in writing and directing this masterpiece, if I may say?
Well, I think that it was a dark night of the soul that I was going through myself that helped me to sort of discover the story and to see it in a new light. I was in a place where I really needed hope, and I needed the comfort of a saint with me in my suffering, and I found that. I discovered that in this story in St. Maximilian Kolbe, and as I began to reflect on it, in my own struggles, I found that it felt like Kolbe was sort of coming to me and mentoring me through that, telling me and showing me how to pick up my cross and walk. And so I think that this story is really a love letter from me to the world, to Kolbe, but also I think the story itself is a love letter from God to us, to say that there's always hope, there's always love, there's always something to live for.
And this striking title, Triumph of the Heart, how did you come up with it?
There's a famous Nazi propaganda piece called Triumph of the Will that I think really articulated the sort of Nazi Übermensch philosophy that was the underpinning of the Nazi movement. And Kolbe's story is the direct opposite of that. It's a story about vulnerability and love, powerlessness. And we see in that weakness a triumph. We see God being exalted and ultimately the winner being God over all of this darkness. And so I think Triumph of the Heart was a way to sort of tease to that hope that even though this is going to be a hard story to watch, you will experience a triumph in the end.
Yes, and you know what? You had this powerful scene wherein you included the sacrament of confession in order to bring about the discussion on forgiveness. That was something that you planned or thought about when you were still writing it?
I knew that Maximilian Kolbe, as a priest, his goal would have been to hear the confessions of the men around him. And I think that's an obvious thing. And I thought, if not everybody was on board with that, if not everybody was, perhaps if they were where I was and where I felt like I was in my own, suffering and my own sort of skepticism, how would they have responded to that sort of offering? And what would have been, I saw that as a very dramatic potential moment where Kolbe might or might not break through to them. So in the movie, you'll have to see it, but it's sort of one of those thresholds where the movie forks and it goes in a different direction after that.
And what about divine intervention, providence, miracles while filming?
Yeah, this whole movie is a miracle. We set out to do it with only $300,000. For reference, for anybody else that's kind of curious about the film industry, Cabrini cost $40 million to make. And so to do something like this ambitious on this scale with that amount of money required us to walk on water, to be like Franciscan beggars at every moment, because we didn't have money to throw at problems. Anything that went wrong, we needed somebody or some sort of miracle to sort of change the dynamic so that we could tell the story. And so specific ones would have been, we ended up needing a very particular type of person, a stunt coordinator, to help us make all of our Auschwitz exterior shots seem believable. And we ended up having to reschedule because of snow, the biggest day, which is the hardest thing potential to do. Imagine this whole premiere that we're standing in having to be rescheduled in the course of 2 days, That's how complicated it was. But it allowed us to find a new stunt coordinator, and the person that came to us was, we looked at his IMDb after I had a conversation with him, and it turned out he was the stunt coordinator for Mission Impossible. And so he was somebody that loved Maximilian Kolbe and was wanted to bring his talents to us, even though we couldn't pay him, and he volunteered to help us. So that's just one of the thousands and thousands of stories like that, where we found people who could solve problems for us that we could never have, never have expected or been able to secure ourselves by our own power.
God's grace was sufficient.
God's grace was sufficient.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, and good luck. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have Rowan. He plays Albert, and he is such a seasoned actor. So how did you get involved in this film, and what did you do to prepare for this role?
The film came to my attention through a casting website. So obviously I'm based in the UK, back in London, and I sometimes scour these casting websites for jobs, and I saw an opportunity to go to Poland. I have Polish heritage. My grandfather fought in the war for the Polish army, and I'd never had a chance to go. And I thought, what kind of like better way than to go with a film. And then obviously I found out about Antony's story. And as soon as I heard that, about all the kind of extra meaning that this job would present me with and the challenges it would present me with, it was a no-brainer. And then I was, before I knew it, I was in Poland and dropping weight for the movie and learning my lines, getting my accent down and meeting the team. And it was a wonderful few weeks.
You were so effective as Albert. All the emotions that one would think to come out of you. You're a soldier, was so strong, and then you see that weakness, and then towards the end, that weakness was turned into love. That was just so powerful. So how did you prepare for those intense, scenes?
Really, it was about my conversations with Antony, who wrote the piece. And in many ways, Albert was a kind of a mouthpiece for his own experience. So I made sure that I was speaking to Antony throughout the whole process and talking to him about his own personal struggles and the inspiration for Albert. And really, it was the kind of like healthy amount of responsibility and pressure that put on me, was to try and relate to that and find that within myself and then transfer it via Albert. Antony's such a wonderful director, and he was such a beautiful presence on set. And I think just having him nearby, sometimes all I would need to do was look at him. He would be looking at me. We'd know what the moment was about, and then it was kind of all there, just happening before we knew it. It was a sort of weirdly spiritual process in that way.
Yes. The film actually shows everything about the evils of war. Mm-hmm. How does this film, in this day and age, still reverberate the theme of hope?
Mm-hmm. I think it's, in its essence, it's really quite a simple message at the end of the day. I think right now why it's relevant, we are absolutely flooded with information from all directions. With all kind of the different news outlets and AI and Instagram, all the different opinions, we can get very, very lost amongst it all. And to find a kind of a sense of direction and in that sense, hope, if we're feeling kind of lost or in the dark and we're looking for answers, it essentially just asks us to turn inwards and ask ourselves essential questions again, rather than looking for the answers externally. And in Kolbe's case, the message is, find the love within yourself or find the love to guide you. And I think that's a universal and timeless message.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
He knows the rules. I will choose 10 of you to starve until the missing prisoner is found or until death. This is fun.
I got children now!
I can take his place.
I have Christopher Sherwood, the German official, and Sharon Oliphant, the wife in the movie. And both of you did a fantastic job, especially that dinner outside when it was so cold and there was that power struggle. How did you prepare for your roles?
Preparing for this role requires, because it's a historical figure, is to understand as much of the history as possible, and to try and understand some of his personal life as well, to try and understand what was motivating him through his evil acts.
We have Weronika Skwaroń. How did you get involved in this film?
Well, so I found an information about the casting on the internet, and I really wanted to be part of this project, but they were looking for male actors. And I've just sent an email hoping that maybe in the future they're going to look for actresses as well. And I didn't get an answer at all. But after a few weeks, I saw another casting and they were actually looking for actresses. And to be honest, I almost didn't send an email because I thought that they have my application already. And I'm so glad I decided to send one more email because I really wanted to participate and just to get involved. And I'm so happy that I can be the part of this project.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be here for the red carpet and seeing everyone supporting this film?
It's an amazing experience. It's also my first time to the US at all. It's my first day in the US. It's so, I'm so excited to meet everyone. Also, people who are working on this film from the US, because of course I met the cast and the crew in Poland when we were shooting, but there are so many other people working and supporting this movie I didn't have a chance to meet until today.
Andrew, you're the cinematographer, and you know what? There were several scenes that were so remarkable with the way you presented the scenes. So was it part of your envisioning of the film?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest the biggest thing that informed what we were doing was just the cell itself. If that's where the majority of the film is. So, the light coming through that one window is what we had to work with.
What's a favorite scene in the film for you?
I think Albert's character, there's an emotional kind of like a point where his character breaks emotionally. And that, I think that's always really, that's really moved me. It's a pivotal point, I think, for his character. And it's very sad. That part of the story is very sad. I think overall, there's just so much, the film goes pretty deep in terms of emotion, but it also comes out with a lot of hope that I think is really unique in film to have this type of love for, love for your enemy, their captors, the people keeping them in the cell.
I'm Brother Paul!
Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Where have you been these past 2 years? To believe in heaven or God? Certainly you couldn't have been living in this world.
We have Mr. Marcellino D'Ambrosio. He is the executive producer of this stunning masterpiece. So I want to ask you, how were you able to sell this to people who would be able to help out fund the film? Was it as a religious film or a film that is universal with a message of hope and resilience?
It is a film that's universal, and it does have a message of hope for everyone. But I have to say that our main base, are the people who know Kolbe, love Kolbe, and want to see a saint depicted in a way that inspires and moves people. So, primarily, it was Catholics from all over the country. And primarily it was people without big resources. We didn't have a huge, someone step forward with millions of dollars to fund this movie. We had people stepping forward with $50 and $100 and $1,000. I think this is the first Catholic crowdfunded movie in history, to my knowledge anyway. And so I'm so proud of all those people who stepped forward. I'm so proud that this is something that, like a cathedral in the Middle Ages, is built by contributions from everyone in the town, everyone in the city of
From
God.
the grassroots
It's totally grassroots. Yeah. So, but it turned out to be a masterpiece, it seems to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you foresee, the divine intervention and the miracles that happened during the filming?
The miracle started before the filming when Anthony was pulled out of depression and despair, honestly, by Maximilian Kolbe. I can't really describe that. Anthony has to describe what that encounter was like, but we watched his suffering. We've been through this with him, and so the miracle started there, and then they just kept coming. So every step along the way, from our first pilgrimage to Kolbe's cell and in Auschwitz, that was 3 years ago last month. From that moment all the way through, people coming together, stepping up, finding the cast. I mean, this cast is unbelievable. It just blows my mind the way in which we have these incredibly excellent actors. Every single role is played beautifully.
I think it was orchestrated by God himself.
It was. I've told Anthony many times, it's definitely God moving this forward.
I have Katie and Bobby Fredrickson. They're in social media and they have their podcast. My question to you is, dominance and oppression can happen to any of us. And in the film, St. Maximilian Kolbe actually pushed for the antidote of love and forgiveness that is different from how we see things. So what can you say about this perspective?
Yeah, Maximilian Kolbe gave us the example, just like how Jesus laid down his life for us, that even in the darkest times, that sacrificial love and giving up yourself, dying to yourself, that can bring hope, that can bring resurrection. So St. Maximilian Kolbe gives us that example of what it looks like to live a virtuous life, to follow in Jesus' footsteps, which is, it looks like it's a death, but at the end of the day, he helped bring other people to heaven with him. So it's a beautiful thing.
And that weakness is not really a weakness, it's strength and triumph.
I think that everything is an inverse, right? Like love is willing the good, right? And so it's sometimes against what we think is supposed to be, but in true love is not thinking about yourself but of others.
It prevails and it conquers.
Absolutely.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It's not possible to tell me how was I still alive. I believe that somehow at the other side of this savage life, everyone who has gone before us is watching, beholding this moment. Love is the realest thing. No one can take that from us, even now.
I'm with Oleg Karpenko and Alex Mugnaioni.
Beautiful.
All right. You both played the inmates and you both did fantastic.
Thank you.
How did you prepare for your roles? I'll start off with you.
I would say method acting, to put it short. And I had a more than a month of preparation, so well enough for me to refresh my memories about World War II that would come from my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran, and also reading about the subject, and diet, my hardcore diet that helped me to get into character pretty fast, I would say. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
These are my secrets.
Don't give them all away at once. I had a little bit of a shorter amount of time. I was cast only a couple of weeks before going out to Poland to shoot. So I just had to get going as soon as possible. Pretty much, I think, I didn't know I was going to get the part for a few days, but I was like, I'm just going to act like I've got it. So as soon as I came off the Zoom call with Anthony D'Ambrosio, I was like, I need to start cutting calories. And that sounds like that was the main focus. It wasn't at all, but something about having to lose the weight. And also, Anthony never said you must lose all this weight. Like, we've got to make that clear. We weren't pushed into that in any way.
That's true.
But I felt it was important to get into, in some small way, the mindset of what these people were going through, the suffering that they were going through in some tiny way. And I don't think it would have felt right if we were kind of doing these scenes about starvation in the cell and then
going out and eating a load of pierogies. So that was a big part of it, both for the physicality, but also the mentality. And then also so much reading, various books about the Holocaust, because I didn't know a huge amount about it. I knew that it was a thing. I knew the atrocities. I knew that, but I didn't know the detail and the lived-in experience. So reading things, watching films, all this stuff. So, yeah.
And one other important thing is we had a whole bunch of rehearsals.
That's so true.
We had a great rehearsal period. So I think we did this film by the book completely. This is the ABC of filmmaking to me. It's just a great example of how films should be done.
Yeah.
And my favorite part is the preparational period. I mean, the rehearsal period, which was done with Anthony in Poland.
Yeah.
So thank you to both of you, gentlemen. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have Cecilia Stevenson. She's the producer of Triumph of the Heart. Cecilia, I have this question for you. You mentioned that this film is the most challenging and yet most memorable. Why?
This film has, it's been so hard, but also so rewarding. So from the very beginning, every stage of the project has had just different reasons, like why it has been so hard, whether it's like raising money in like the fundraising phase, or whether it's, you're in pre-production and there's all these logistics and you're trying to cast and, find locations in a foreign country, no less. Like that was, I think, an extra layer of difficulty that Anthony knew. We knew we were getting into it, but maybe not quite how much, right? And then, in production, and it's just these long days, and we're like, just going through these long production days together, and it's emotionally draining and tension is high, and there's a limited time, limited money, all these things. And then anyway, post-production, et cetera, distribution, all of it. There's just been so many challenges to overcome. And for me personally, at this stage, right, like I'm really battling this feeling of burnout. Like it's just been so long, and it's really hard to kind of keep the faith, keep the pace. And I've been praying to Kolbe to like you did this in that cell, and you were starving to death, and like you were singing songs, and you were like loving these men, like. Wow, how did you do that? Like, please help me to like finish my race. It looks a lot different than yours. But anyway, it's been an amazing journey. And that I think is why, despite all of the logistical difficulties, the, emotional, spiritual strain of just long days and long years, it's been so rewarding, because this movie it's just really beautiful. And I'm very excited to share it with the world.
It was well worth it. And that gave you fulfillment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think my heart, I think like, God placed this in me, right? Like this desire to like use my gifts, right? To bring light and life to the world. And Kolbe's story is exactly that. And so, I do feel fulfilled, and like I'm, answering my calling in a certain way, I guess. And I don't know what, the future holds, but at least in this moment, like I do believe that like God called me to work with Anthony and make this movie, and, rally the team together. And it's very humbling. I'm very honored and humbled to be here.
Why would you consider this film as a must-see?
This one was a must-see, I think, because it is unlike a lot of other movies that have come out today. And so I think people will hopefully be surprised when they watch it. We like to say that it's a saint movie, unlike any other saint movie that maybe other Catholics have seen. And we hold ourselves to very high bars artistically. And, we're masters of our craft, and that's very important to us. But also the message of hope and love, which oftentimes in a lot of movies that come out nowadays, like that is the part that is lost, right? Like too much emphasis is placed on shiny visual effects and whatnot, but there's no like the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of like what makes us human is like gone. And so I think this movie is just different, and I think it's worth seeing, because I think it will challenge you, and I think it will give people hope.
Could you invite our viewers to watch it?
Absolutely. I would love to invite all of you to come see our movie, Triumph of the Heart. It will be well worth your time, and it's a beautiful movie, and I hope you will just come and take a chance on us. Come and watch it.
Come on. What are we here to do? To kill? No. We are here to break the will of Poland so the Reich may reset the bone.
You know the rules. I will choose 10 of you to starve until the missing prisoner is found, or until death. This is fun.
I got children now!
I can take his place.
I'm Brother Paul! Don't leave me. Don't leave me.
Where have you been these past 2 years? To believe in heaven or God? Certainly you couldn't have been living in this world. And that's right.
We have our voices. We must hold on to our hope.
Don't give up. Finish the race. This is not possible. Tell me, how are they still alive?
I believe that
Somehow, on the other side of this savage life, everyone who has gone before us is watching, beholding this moment. Love is the realest thing. No one can take that from us, even now.
We'll triumph in our sorrows and
Thank you for joining me here on Beyond the Vision for the film Triumph of the Heart, The Passion of Saint Maximilian Kolbe. Watch this stunning masterpiece. You will not regret it. Thank you so much for joining us. Shalom.